All right, for our second lecture, we're going to be looking at what we call the explicit formula. All right, the explicit formula, it's basically, I give you guys a list. I'm going to be working questions 7 through 12, but I'm going to give you guys a list on number 7. I give you guys a list, in this case, 4 numbers, but I want to find out what's the formula that I can use in order for me to find any number on the list, right? What if I want the 5th number or 6th number, or what if I want to find the 70th or 71st numbered on my list, right? Any numbered on the list. Now, what we're going to be doing, first of all, we have to find the common difference, right? There's a number I keep on adding or subtracting. In this case, it happens to be, I'm subtracting 9, right? Negative 19 minus 9 is negative 28. Negative 28 minus 9 is negative 37, and so on. I mentioned before, like, how do we find a common difference, right? If we cannot see it, how do we find a common difference? Choose a number from the list and subtract the previous number. All right, how do we do that? Let's say I choose, I'm going to call this D for difference. Let's say I choose negative 37. So let's just say negative 37. And I'm going to subtract the previous number, which is a negative 28. I know two negative signs put together make a plus sign. So negative 37 plus 28 gives me a negative 9. Right? That's another way how we find the common difference. So we do need the common difference. The way we're going to do the explicit formula. Let me write the first number that I see on the list. In this case, a negative 19. My common difference is a negative 9, so I'm going to say minus 9. I'm going to subtract the 9, but after the negative 9, after the common difference, I'm going to open parentheses and I'm going to write and minus 1, close parentheses. So if I want to find out what's the 10th number on the list, my parentheses basically means 10 minus 1, which is 9. I'm always going to subtract, I'm going to subtract the 9 or add the common difference, one number less than the number that I'm looking for. And the reason why I do that is because I start the common difference starting from the second number, right? My first number was a negative 19. It was just a random number. But I start adding the common difference, in this case, subtract 9, starting from the second number. So that's why the n minus 1. So if I want the 10th number on the list, I have to subtract 9 only 9 times. If I want the 25th number on the list, I'm going to subtract 9 24 times. Right? Again, we start from the second number, so that's why it is always an n minus 1. Now, this is my answer. This is it. Keep in mind that you guys are going to type everything all together. No spaces, all right? All together. So let's take a look at question number 8. Let me find a common difference. Hopefully you guys can see it, from negative 32 to become 168. I added or subtracted something, and then to 368, 568, probably you guys can see it. If you guys cannot see the difference, let me use D. Choose a number. I'm going to choose 368. Choose a number from the list and subtract the previous number. In this case, 168. 368 minus 168 is a positive 200. So I'm going to say my common difference is 200. I'm adding 200 each time. All right, so let's take a look. How do I write the explicit formula? My first number on the list is a negative 32. I know my common difference is a positive 200, so I'm going to say I'm going to add 200 and n minus 1 many times. Again, it's always n minus 1 because I start adding the difference starting from the second number. N minus 1 is basically the number that I want on the list. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Let's take a look at question number 9. I'm gonna give you guys two random terms, right? Two terms. We have an arithmetic sequence. Find the term named in the problem. I gave you guys the 18th number on the list. I gave you guys the 36th number on the list. And I want you to find out what's the 39th number on the list. Okay, so let's take a look. How are we going to do this? My smallest number, my first number on the list is the 18th number, right? Because I have the 18th numbered and I have the 36th number from the list. So the one that comes first is the 18th numbered. So I'm going to say negative 3,365. I'm going to add the difference so many times, right? I don't know the difference, so I'm going to call it D for right now. I'm going to add the difference so many times. Now think about it. You start on the 18th number on the list, and you want to get to the 36th number on the list. Isn't that 18 times? So I'm going to add the difference 18 times, and it's going to give me negative 6,965. All right, so what did I do? I started with the smallest number, right? The first number on the list. I figure how many times I have to add the difference, and that gives me the later number on the list. The rest is just plain algebra, right? I'm gonna solve for D. I want to know what's the difference. So let's see. The way we do this, the way I work algebra is, I wish I didn't have this number, right? The negative 3,365. I wish I didn't have it. And I'm going to cancel it because I'm going to move it to the other side of the equal sign, right? We see the equal sign here. And I'm going to move the number to the other side. The only thing is that when we move it from one side to the other, you got to switch the sign. So instead of minus, let me go plus 3,365. Right? If you remember your Algebra 1 teacher, they used to say opposite operation. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm changing the sign. I know D times 18, that's basically 18D equals negative 6,965 plus 3,365. That is a negative 3,600. Right? Use a calculator if you need to. The signs were different, so I subtracted my values and I kept the sign of the large one. Now to solve for D, let me divide both sides by 18. So it gives me that the common difference happens to be negative 200. All right, I'm not quite done yet. Okay, I just wanted to find the common difference because I'm going to use it. Now, I'm able to find any number on the list. I want to find out the 39th number. And then I notice that I have the 18th number on the list, and I have the 36th number on the list. And I want to find out the 39th number. To be honest, from the two numbers given, I want to choose the one that is closest to it, to the one I'm looking for, without going over. So in this case, I'm going to choose the 36 number. So I'm going to start from that one. I'm going to say I start with negative 6,965, and I have to add the difference. The difference is negative 200. So I have to subtract 200 so many times. Let me put a parentheses there. All right. I have the 36 number, and I want the 39th number. So doesn't that mean that I have to add the common difference 3 times? Right? Because from the 36th number on the list to the 39th, isn't that 3 times? All right. Now we're in algebra 2, so I don't have to explain that we multiply before we subtract, right? You guys know how to combine these terms. Negative 6,965 minus 200 3 times, right? We can always multiply. That gives me negative 7,565. I know we were told to put a comma to separate the thousands. I'm going to say it's optional. If you type the comma to separate the thousands, you're good. If you don't type the comma, you're good. To be honest, I'm interested in the number. The sign is important though. So the negative, you do have to have it. But the comma to separate the thousands is your choice. You don't have to. I'm interested to see if you know what you're doing. All right, so let's take a look at question number 10. Now, I have the 20th number on the list. I have the 37th number on the list. So the one that comes first is the 20th number. I'm going to use this to find the common difference. So I start at 191, and I'm going to add the difference. I'm going to say 17 times, right? From the 20th number to the 37th number. Isn't that 17 times? All right. So I'm going to add it 17 times. So remember, to the 20th number, to 191, I add the difference 17 times. That's going to give me 344. I'm going to do this to find out what the common difference is. Again, I don't want the 191, so I'm going to move it to the other side as a minus 191. So that gives me that 17D, right? D times 17 is the same thing as 17D, is equal to 153. Right? 344 minus 191 gave me 153. Let me divide both sides by 17. So my common difference happens to be 9, positive 9. So I add 9 each time. All right, so now I'm able to find the 31st number in the list. I have the 20th and I have the 37th. I said earlier, I'm going to choose the closest number without going over it. So in this case, let me choose the 20th numbered on the list. So I'm going to start with 191 because that's the 20th numbered, and I'm going to add 9, right? That's the common difference. I'm going to add 9 11 times because from the 20th to the 31st, that's 11 times. All right. Remember to multiply before you add. So 9 times 11 plus 191, in this case, gives me 290. So the 31st numbered on my list is 290. All right, the last two examples from today's lecture, let's take a look. Evaluate each arithmetic series. What I want you to do in this thing, evaluate, is basically add all the numbers. You will be surprised that this formula came from a 10-year-old guy back in the days. His teacher asked him, I want you to add the numbers from 1 through 100, like 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to you get to 100. He was 10 years old. Gauss came out with a formula that we actually use. For me to evaluate, for me to add a number or the numbers on the list, I need to know, there's a couple of things I need to know. The first numbered on my list. I need to know the last numbered on my list. And I need to know how many numbers I'm adding. Those are the three things that I need to know. The first numbered on my list, I notice, is 16. So that's given. The last number, you notice I gave you guys 4 numbers on the list, but it says dot, dot, dot. So it continues. But here it says n equals 10. So with that, I mean, I want you to add the first 10 numbers on the list. So I need to find out what's the last number. I know my first number is 16. And I'm going to add 10 times, well, 10, because I had to find what's the common difference. My common difference happens to be 10 as well. I'm going to add the common difference 9 times. Remember how earlier we said n minus 1, right? I want to find out what's the 10th number on the list. So I said 9, right? 10 minus 1. 16 plus 10 times 9. Remember to multiply first. It gives me 106. So my first number on the list is 16. The last number on my list is 106, and I'm adding 10 numbers. That's all I need to do. All right. What we're going to do, the way we're going to be able to add all my numbers, remember Gauss, the way he was given was add from 1 through 100. So his first numbers was 1, the last number was 100, and he was adding 100 numbers. All right, so the way he did this was he added the first plus the last number. So 16 plus 106. As a matter of fact, let me write this thing down. 16 plus 106. He added the first number and the last number. And then he multiplied this by how many numbers he was adding. In this case, 10. And then we're going to divide our result by 2. So remember, we got to add the first number and the last number. Add them up, multiply by how many numbers we're adding, and divide it by 2. All right. In my case, I have a calculator, so I'm going to do this really quick. 122, right? 16 plus 106, that's 122, times 10 divided by 2 happens to give me 610. By the way, the question that Giles got, add the numbers from 1 through 100, he got 5,050, just in case you guys wanted to know. All right, let's take a look. Question number 12. First of all, I need to find out what's the first number on my list. I need to find out the last number on the list, and then how many numbers I'm adding. The first number and how many basically are given. The first number in the list is a negative 31. And I know I'm adding 15 numbers because it says there's 15 numbers on my list. All right, what's the common difference from negative 31 to negative 41 to negative 51 to negative 61? It seems like each time I subtract 10. If you cannot tell, remember, always pick a number from the list and subtract the previous number. So we find out that the common difference is negative 10. All right. So for us to find the last number on the list, I'm going to say negative 31 because that's the first number. I'm going to subtract 10 14 times. Again, remember the n minus 1 we just used? So I want to find the 15th number on the list. So I do the common difference 14 times. It is always one less because we start the common difference starting from the second number. So that's why it's always one less. Negative 10 minus 10 times 14. Remember to multiply first. This gives me negative 171. So I know my first number, I know my last number, and I know how many numbers I'm adding. So what I'm going to do, let me add my first number and my last number. So negative 31 plus a negative 171. Some people might say negative 31 minus 171. Yeah, that's the same thing. I'm going to multiply this times 15 because how many numbers I'm multiplying, and always divide this by 2. Negative 202 times 15 divided by 2 gives me negative 1,515. Again, the comma for the thousands, it's okay if you type it, and it's okay if you don't. I'm interested if you know how to do this work. All right, so that's basically our second lecture, 7 through 12. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.